Hello, friends. This is Jim with Science Talk. I have a story uh, discussing what China is doing, some of the steps that China is taking. China's falling emissions of greenhouse gases offer optimism that moves to curb global temperatures rise may be starting to work. So, over recent years, China has supplanted the U.S. as the world's biggest emitter of greenhouse gases. That cause climate change, of course. And this is due to the country's booming economy, as well as the increased at start use of coal. And coal is the dirtiest of the fossil fuels, most polluting. But new data shows that China's emissions fell substantially in the years from 2013 to 2016. The big question now, both for China and the planet, is whether that such a downward trend can be maintained. The data compiled by a team led by researchers at the University of East Anglia, commonly called UEA, in the UK, published in the journal Nature Geoscience, indicate that after nearly 2 decades of a rapid rise, China's CO2 emissions fell by 4.2% in the 2013 to 2016 period. Not too bad. Every bit helps. So, Dabo Guan, who is a professor of climate change economics at UEA, said as the world's top emitting and manufacturing nation, this reversal is cause for cautious optimism among those seeking to stabilize Earth's climate. And he goes on to say, now the important question is whether the decline in Chinese emissions will persist. Professor Guan and his colleagues say that the drop in China's emission is largely associated with changes in the structure of the economy, with a move from heavy industry to more advanced technical and services enterprises, and the decline in the amount of coal used for energy. Meanwhile, what are we doing here in the U.S.? Ramping up coal extraction. Not aggressively going with green technology, for green energy technology. Drilling here, fracking is, we're now we produce lots of oil through fracking. Fracking not only it pollutes the groundwater, it causes seismic disturbances, and it emits a pile of greenhouse gases into the air. Just the whole procedure of it. More efficient energy production, going back to China, together with a big jump in the use of renewables such as solar and wind power, have also contributed to the emissions decline. We're not seeing that here in the U.S. They are saying that they do think this decline will continue. Very likely that it will. The study authors state that we conclude that the decline of Chinese emissions is structural and likely to be sustained if the growing industrial and energy system transitions continue. Government policies are also a sign that the decline in China's emissions will carry on. You need the government to establish and set policy. Chinese government has. The U.S. government has not. In response to the U.S. withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, China has increasingly assumed a leadership role in climate change mitigation, and its 5-year progress reports under the agreement will be heavily scrutinized by the rest of the world, Professor Guan states. So, but there are some aspects here. Consider. Though China, concerned about chronic air pollution in many of its cities, is seeking to cut its coal use at home, which is good, and it is, but it is investing heavily in coal plants abroad. So now, does this become almost like we cut coal burning here in China, but if we're building coal plants elsewhere, not in China, Does the decrease in coal emissions here equal the increase in coal emissions here? Does it become a zero-sum game? Or for that matter, worse, burning more coal outside of China than what China has reduced. So that's a kind of a Also, and particularly in the Balkans, in financing and building coal-fired power plants there. So, kind of a good and bad aspect of this. Be that as it may. So, yeah, they're doing what's good for China and its people, and that's good. You want to improve the air quality in China, but then to turn around and start building coal-fired plants elsewhere might almost negate whatever gains they have achieved within its borders. So we'll have to see how that plays out as we progress along here time-wise. So, but there are at least some steps being taken, even if there's sort of like a bit of a takeaway as well. So, I want to bring you this quick story, and we'll talk soon. Hello folks, this is Jim asking for your help. I want to grow this channel significantly. I want to increase the number of people who subscribe to my channel. I want to increase the number of people who are supporting patrons on Patreon for this channel. Patreon.com/Science Talk with Jim Massa. I do not receive funding of any sort from anyone. So the information I share with you is the information as found published in the peer-reviewed journals. No propaganda, no BS, just the science, and of course I give you my interpretations and analyses based on my experience as a scientist. So please tell others of the work I do here, tell others of my channel. Share my videos, post them on other social media platforms. But we need to disseminate this information to more and more people, to a wider audience. And I need your help in doing that. For those of you who are already patrons and support me on Patreon, thank you. Thank you for your support and continued support. Together we can do this. So you'll find details in the description box below how to support me on Patreon. And thank you. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your continued support. It does mean a lot to me. We can do this.